The WWE Universe was left in absolute shock when what should have been a routine Monday Night Raw segment turned into every wrestler's worst nightmare. Dominik Mysterio, the rising star who's been making waves in the Judgment Day faction, collapsed backstage after what witnesses are calling a terrifying and life-threatening cardiac episode that has sent shockwaves through the entire wrestling world. And now, Triple H has finally broken his silence about what really happened that night. And his words are going to make you furious about how WWE handled this crisis. But before we dive into Triple H's explosive statements and Liv Morgan's heartbreaking reaction that has fans questioning everything about WWE's medical protocols, let me tell you something that's going to make your blood boil. According to multiple backstage sources, there were warning signs that WWE management allegedly chose to ignore leading up to this incident. And when you hear what Triple H revealed about the company's response, you're going to understand why the entire wrestling community is calling for heads to roll. This isn't just another wrestling controversy, this is about a young man's life, and the way WWE has handled this situation is absolutely disgraceful. Liv Morgan's emotional breakdown backstage wasn't just about losing a fellow superstar. It was about watching someone she cares about nearly die while the company she works for allegedly prioritized ratings over human safety. And Triple H's recent comments. They've opened a can of worms that WWE never wanted opened. So buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you view WWE forever. The truth about Dominik Mysterio's heart attack, the cover-up attempts, and why Liv Morgan is reportedly considering leaving the company entirely. This is the story WWE doesn't want you to hear, and it's going to make you question everything you thought you knew about sports entertainment. It was supposed to be just another Monday night. Raw was in full swing, the crowd was electric, and Dominik Mysterio had just finished what many are calling one of his best performances to date. The Judgment Day storyline was heating up, ratings were through the roof, and everything seemed perfect in WWE's carefully orchestrated world of sports entertainment. But what happened next would shatter that illusion forever and expose the dark reality behind WWE's glittering facade. According to eyewitness accounts from multiple WWE personnel who spoke to us on condition of anonymity, Dominik appeared, visibly distressed, and was clutching his chest as he made his way through the backstage area following his match. But here's where this story gets infuriating. Sources claim that when Dominik approached WWE medical staff complaining of chest pains and difficulty breathing, he was allegedly told to walk it off, and that it was probably just post-match adrenaline. Can you believe that? A 26-year-old athlete complaining of chest pains and difficulty breathing, and WWE's medical team allegedly dismissed it as adrenaline. This is the same company that claims to prioritize wrestler safety above all else, the same organization that spent millions on medical facilities and protocols after the Chris Benoit tragedy. Yet when one of their rising stars was literally crying out for help, they allegedly told him to walk it off. But it gets worse, much worse, because what happened in the next 30 minutes would expose just how broken WWE's emergency response system really is, and why families of WWE superstars are now questioning whether their loved ones are truly safe in that ring. Dominik, following the medical team's advice, attempted to continue with his backstage responsibilities. He had interviews scheduled, meet and greets with sponsors, and the typical post-show obligations that every WWE superstar knows comes with the territory. But as he was walking toward the interview area with Liv Morgan, who had been waiting to congratulate him on his performance, the unthinkable happened. Liv Morgan's account of what happened next, shared through tears with close friends who later leaked the details, is absolutely heartbreaking. She described watching Dominik suddenly stop mid-sentence during their conversation, his face turning ghostly white, before he collapsed to the concrete floor. She said his eyes rolled back, his body began convulsing, and she could hear what sounded like gurgling coming from his throat. I thought he was dying, Liv reportedly told friends. I was screaming for help, but it felt like forever before anyone came. I was holding his head, trying to keep him conscious, but he wasn't responding. His lips were turning blue, and I could barely feel a pulse. I honestly thought I was watching someone I care about die right in front of me. The medical emergency that followed was, according to sources, a complete disaster that exposed every flaw in WWE's crisis management system. Multiple witnesses report that it took nearly 8 minutes for properly trained medical personnel to reach the scene. 8 minutes. Do you know how long that is when someone is having a cardiac episode? That's enough time for permanent brain damage or death. But here's what's going to make you absolutely livid about WWE's handling of this crisis. While Dominik was literally fighting for his life on the backstage floor, with Liv Morgan desperately trying to keep him conscious, WWE executives were reportedly more concerned about controlling the narrative and preventing leaks than they were about getting their superstar the medical attention he desperately needed. According to multiple sources within the company, instead of immediately calling 911 and getting Dominik to the nearest hospital, WWE security personnel allegedly spent precious minutes trying to clear the area of witnesses and confiscating cell phones from staff members who might have been recording the incident. They were more worried about protecting the company's image than protecting Dominik's life. One particularly disturbing account from a WWE crew member, who spoke to us anonymously fearing for their job, described the scene as absolutely chaotic and heartless. This source claims that while Liv Morgan was sobbing hysterically and begging for someone to call an ambulance, WWE officials were allegedly asking her to calm down and keep quiet about what she had witnessed. They were treating it like a PR crisis instead of a medical emergency, the source told us. Liv was covered in Dominik's blood because she had been trying to help him when he hit his head on the concrete, and these executives were asking her to sign a non-disclosure agreement before they would even tell her which hospital he was being taken to. It was disgusting. When paramedics finally arrived, called not by WWE officials but by Liv Morgan herself, who had grabbed someone's phone when security wasn't looking, they found Dominik in what medical professionals later described as critical condition. His heart had stopped beating for nearly 3 minutes, and only immediate CPR and defibrillation saved his life. The ride to the hospital was touch and go. Paramedics worked frantically to stabilize Dominik's condition while Liv Morgan, who had refused to leave his side despite WWE officials trying to prevent her from going to the hospital, held his hand and prayed. She later told friends that she made promises to God during that ambulance ride, promises she's apparently determined to keep now that Dominik is recovering. But the real bombshell in this story isn't just about WWE's alleged mishandling of the medical emergency, it's about what Triple H revealed during his first public comments about the incident, and why his words have sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. During what was supposed to be a routine conference call with WWE shareholders and investors, Triple H was asked about recent medical incidents affecting WWE programming. His response was not only shocking but has raised serious questions about WWE's corporate culture and their treatment of talent welfare. "Look, this business has always been about taking risks," Triple H reportedly said during the call. "Every time these men and women step into that ring, they're putting their bodies on the line for entertainment. Sometimes, unfortunately, those risks catch up with people. But that's the nature of this industry. We can't bubble wrap our performers and expect to deliver the kind of high-impact entertainment our fans demand." When pressed specifically about Dominik Mysterio's condition and whether WWE had adequate medical protocols in place, Triple H's response was even more disturbing. According to leaked audio from the call, he allegedly said, "Dominik is young, he's resilient, and he knew what he was signing up for when he chose this career path. These incidents, while unfortunate, are rare, and we have full confidence in our medical team and their ability to handle any situation that arises." But here's what makes Triple H's comments so infuriating: they directly contradict the accounts we've received from multiple sources about WWE's handling of the incident. If WWE has full confidence in their medical team, why did it take 8 minutes for qualified medical personnel to reach a superstar having a heart attack? If they have adequate protocols in place, why were executives allegedly more concerned about NDAs than getting Dominik proper medical care? The wrestling community's reaction to Triple H's comments has been swift and brutal. Former WWE superstars, current AEW wrestlers, and even some current WWE talent have taken to social media to express their outrage at what they see as a callous and tone-deaf response to a near tragedy. Chris Jericho, never one to mince words when it comes to WWE's treatment of talent, posted a scathing response on his social media accounts. When I hear executives talking about young wrestlers, knowing what they signed up for, after a cardiac episode, it makes me sick. This isn't about taking bumps or working through injuries, this is about basic human decency and medical care. No one signs up to die for entertainment. Even more damning was the response from former WWE physician Dr. Chris Amon, who worked with the company for over a decade before leaving in 2014. In a rare public statement, Drive. Amon said, "Based on what I'm hearing about this incident, there were multiple failures in the emergency response protocol. 8 minutes is absolutely unacceptable for any medical emergency, let alone a cardiac event. And the idea that chest pains and breathing difficulties were dismissed as adrenaline is medically irresponsible and potentially criminal." But perhaps the most heartbreaking response has come from those closest to Dominik Mysterio, particularly his legendary father Rey Mysterio and the woman who witnessed his collapse firsthand, Liv Morgan. Rey Mysterio, who has been notably absent from WWE programming since his son's heart attack, broke his silence with an emotional statement that has left the wrestling world in tears. In a lengthy social media post, the WWE Hall of Famer wrote, "As a father, there is no pain greater than watching your child fight for their life. As a WWE superstar, there is no betrayal greater than trusting a company with your family's safety only to have them fail when it matters most." Rey's statement continued with allegations that are sure to result in legal action. "My son complained of chest pains and was told it was nothing. When he collapsed, precious minutes were wasted on protecting WWE's image instead of protecting my son's life. If not for Liv Morgan's quick thinking and refusal to follow Wee's instructions to stay calm and quiet, my son might not be alive today. This company owes her a debt they can never repay, and they owe my family answers they have yet to provide." But it's Liv Morgan's emotional state and her reaction to Triple H's comments that has really captured the wrestling world's attention and sympathy. According to sources close to the situation, Liv has been devastated by the entire experience and is seriously considering her future with WWE. Friends of Liv Morgan describe her as being completely changed by the incident. One source, who asked to remain anonymous, told us, "Liv hasn't been the same since that night. She keeps having nightmares about holding Dominik while he was unconscious, about the blood on her hands, about thinking she was watching someone she cares about die. She's been in therapy, but she's also been questioning whether she can continue working for a company that she feels prioritizes profits over people." The source continued with details that paint a picture of a young woman traumatized not just by the medical emergency itself, but by WWE's response to it. "The worst part for Liv isn't even what happened to Dominik, it's how WWE treated her afterward. They wanted her to sign papers saying she wouldn't talk about it, they wanted her to move on and continue with storylines like nothing happened. They even suggested that she was being overly emotional about the situation. Can you imagine? She saved someone's life, and they're telling her she's being too emotional about it." These allegations, if true, paint a disturbing picture of WWE's corporate culture and their treatment of talent during crisis situations. But the story gets even more shocking when you learn about the medical details of Dominik's condition and how WWE allegedly tried to downplay the severity of what happened. According to medical records that were leaked to wrestling news outlets, though we cannot independently verify their authenticity, Dominik Mysterio didn't just have a simple fainting spell or anxiety attack. He suffered what doctors classified as a major cardiac event that resulted in complete cardiac arrest. His heart stopped beating for nearly 3 minutes, and only immediate intervention prevented permanent brain damage or death. The medical report allegedly describes finding evidence of an underlying heart condition that should have been detected during routine WWE medical examinations. The condition, known as hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, is a genetic disorder that causes the heart muscle to become abnormally thick, making it harder for the heart to pump blood. It's the same condition that has claimed the lives of numerous young athletes and is exactly the type of condition that comprehensive medical screening is designed to detect. But here's what's absolutely infuriating about this revelation: if the leaked medical records are accurate, this condition should have been caught during Dominik's initial WWE medical evaluation or during one of his annual checkups. The fact that he was cleared to compete with an undiagnosed heart condition raises serious questions about the quality and thoroughness of WWE's medical screening processes. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a cardiologist specializing in sports medicine who reviewed the alleged medical records, told us, "If these documents are authentic, this represents a massive failure in medical screening. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is detectable through basic cardiac testing including EKGs and echocardiograms. Any professional athlete with this condition should be under careful medical supervision, if cleared to compete at all." Dr. Martinez continued with a statement that should terrify every WWE superstar and their families. "The fact that this condition went undetected suggests either inadequate testing or misinterpretation of test results. Either scenario is unacceptable when dealing with athletes who put extreme physical stress on their cardiovascular systems. But WWE's alleged response to these medical revelations is what's really going to make your blood boil. Instead of taking responsibility for the medical screening failure, sources claim the company has been trying to shift blame onto Dominik himself, suggesting that he somehow hid his condition or failed to report symptoms. This victim-blaming approach has outraged Dominik's family and friends, particularly Liv Morgan, who witnessed firsthand that Dominik did report symptoms and was allegedly dismissed by WWE medical staff. According to sources close to the situation, Liv has been furious about WWE's attempts to blame Dominik for their medical failures. Liv keeps saying that Dominik told the medical team he was having chest pains and trouble breathing, one source told us. She was there when he was asking for help, and she watched them blow him off. Now they're trying to make it seem like he hid his condition. It's disgusting, and it's part of why she's considering leaving the company. The impact of this incident on Liv Morgan cannot be overstated. According to multiple sources, she has become the unofficial spokesperson for WWE talent safety concerns, using her experience during Dominik's cardiac episode to push for improved medical protocols and emergency response procedures. But her advocacy efforts have allegedly put her at odds with WWE management, who sources claim are unhappy with her unwillingness to move on from the incident. This tension has reportedly contributed to her consideration of leaving WWE when her contract expires, a departure that would represent a major loss for the company both in terms of talent and positive public relations. Liv has been telling people that she can't work for a company that treats its talent as expendable, another source revealed. She keeps saying that if it had been her having the heart attack instead of Dominik, she would have wanted someone to fight for her the way she's fighting for him. She feels like she has a responsibility to speak out, even if it costs her career. This sense of responsibility has allegedly led Liv Morgan to document everything she witnessed that night, creating what sources describe as a detailed account of WWE's response to the medical emergency. This documentation is reportedly being reviewed by legal experts and could form the basis of potential lawsuits against WWE for their handling of the incident. But Triple H's recent comments have only added fuel to the fire, with many interpreting his statements as evidence that WWE has no intention of taking responsibility for their alleged failures. His suggestion that cardiac episodes are just part of the business has been particularly controversial, with medical experts and former wrestlers alike condemning the statement as both factually incorrect and morally reprehensible. Dr. Robert Chen, a former NFL team physician who has worked with combat sports athletes, told us cardiac episodes in young athletes are not a normal part of competition. They represent medical emergencies that require immediate attention and comprehensive investigation. Any executive who suggests otherwise is demonstrating a fundamental misunderstanding of sports medicine and athlete welfare. The wrestling community's response to Triple H's comments has been equally harsh. Former WWE champion CM Punk, who has been vocal about WWE's treatment of talent in the past, posted a lengthy statement on social media that has been shared thousands of times. When executives start talking about cardiac episodes as just part of the business, you know the culture is rotten from the top down. No one's parents signed their kid up for wrestling expecting them to have heart attacks because the company couldn't be bothered to provide proper medical care. Even current WWE superstars, who typically avoid publicly criticizing the company, have found ways to express their support for Dominik and their concerns about the incident. While none have been willing to speak on the record, several have posted cryptic social media messages that many interpret as veiled criticism of WWE's handling of the situation. The incident has also reignited discussions about WWE's medical protocols and whether they're adequate for protecting talent safety. Former WWE Superstar and current AEW wrestler Jon Moxley, who has been vocal about WWE's medical practices in the past, used the incident to highlight broader concerns about the company's approach to talent welfare. "This isn't an isolated incident," Moxley said during a recent podcast appearance. "This is part of a pattern of prioritizing the show over the safety of the people who make the show possible. How many more close calls do we need before something changes?" But perhaps the most damning criticism has come from within WWE itself, with several current and former employees speaking anonymously about a culture that allegedly prioritizes company image over talent safety. These accounts paint a picture of an organization where reporting injuries or medical concerns is discouraged, and where seeking medical attention is seen as weakness or disloyalty. One current WWE employee, who spoke to us on condition of complete anonymity, described the aftermath of Dominik's heart attack as eye-opening and terrifying. This source claims that instead of using the incident as a wake-up call to improve medical protocols, WWE management has focused primarily on preventing similar incidents from becoming public. "The message that's been sent to talent is clear," the source told us. "Don't make waves, don't complain about medical issues, and definitely don't expect the company to have your back if something goes wrong. What happened to Dominik could happen to any of us, and after seeing how the company handled it, we all know we're on our own." This alleged culture of medical neglect is particularly troubling given WWE's public commitments to talent safety following previous tragedies in the wrestling world. The company has spent millions on concussion protocols, wellness programs, and medical facilities, yet the Dominik Mysterio incident suggests that these investments may be more for show than for actual talent protection. The contrast between WWE's public image and the alleged reality behind the scenes has never been starker. While the company promotes itself as a leader in sports entertainment safety, the accounts we've received suggest a different reality where medical concerns are minimized, emergency responses are inadequate, and talent who speak out face retaliation. This disconnect has not been lost on the wrestling media and fan community, who have been increasingly critical of WWE's handling of the entire situation. Major wrestling news outlets have published scathing editorials questioning WWE's commitment to talent safety, while fan groups have organized social media campaigns calling for improved medical protocols and transparency. The hashtag #JusticeForDominik hashtag has been trending on social media platforms, with fans sharing stories of their own experiences with medical emergencies and expressing outrage at WWE's alleged response. The campaign has also highlighted Liv Morgan's role in potentially saving Dominik's life, with many calling her a hero for her quick thinking and refusal to be silenced by WWE management. But the social media support hasn't translated into concrete changes within WWE, according to sources who say the company remains focused on damage control rather than addressing the underlying issues that led to the incident. This approach has frustrated talent and their families, who feel that WWE is more concerned about protecting its stock price than protecting its employees. The financial implications of the incident have indeed been significant for WWE. The company's stock price dropped nearly 8% in the days following initial reports of the incident, and several major sponsors have reportedly expressed concerns about their association with the company. This financial pressure has allegedly contributed to WWE's focus on controlling the narrative rather than addressing the medical and safety concerns raised by the incident. However, some industry analysts believe that WWE's reputation damage could be far more costly in the long term than any immediate stock price decline. The company's relationship with talent, media, and fans has been strained by their handling of the incident, and the potential for legal action remains high. Legal experts who have reviewed the available information about the incident believe that WWE could face significant liability for their alleged failures in medical screening, emergency response, and post-incident handling. The combination of a potentially preventable medical emergency, delayed emergency response, and alleged retaliation against witnesses creates a perfect storm of legal vulnerability for the company. Based on what's been reported, WWE could be facing multiple lawsuits from different angles, explained sports law attorney Michael Harrison. You have potential medical malpractice claims related to the screening failure, negligence claims related to the emergency response, and possibly employment law violations related to the treatment of witnesses like Liv Morgan. Harrison continued with an assessment that should concern WWE shareholders and executives. The company's public statements suggesting that cardiac episodes are just part of the business could be used as evidence of a reckless corporate culture. That's exactly the kind of statement that plaintiffs' attorneys love to see in cases like this. The potential legal exposure has reportedly led to increased tensions within WWE's corporate structure, with some board members allegedly questioning the handling of the incident and pushing for changes in medical protocols and crisis management procedures. However, sources suggest that these internal discussions have been overshadowed by efforts to minimize the incident's impact on WWE's upcoming television and streaming deals. This prioritization of business interests over talent safety has further strained WWE's relationship with its performers, many of whom are reportedly questioning their long-term future with the company. The exodus of talent that began with several high-profile departures in recent years could accelerate if wrestlers continue to feel that their safety and welfare are secondary concerns. The impact on WWE's ability to attract and retain top talent cannot be understated. The wrestling industry has become increasingly competitive, with AEW and other promotions offering alternatives to WWE's corporate culture. Incidents like Dominik's heart attack and the company's alleged response only serve to make these alternatives more attractive to current and potential WWE superstars. But beyond the corporate and legal implications, the human cost of this incident continues to reverberate through the wrestling world. Dominik Mysterio, while reportedly making progress in his recovery, faces an uncertain future in professional wrestling. The underlying heart condition that allegedly contributed to his cardiac episode may limit or end his in-ring career, depending on ongoing medical evaluations and treatment options. The impact on his family has been equally profound. Rey Mysterio, once one of WWE's most loyal and positive ambassadors, has become increasingly critical of the company's handling of his son's medical emergency. His public statements have been unprecedented in their criticism of WWE management, representing a dramatic shift from his typically diplomatic approach to company relations. Rey has always been a company man, explained a longtime friend of the Mysterio family. He's defended WWE through controversies, supported their decisions even when he disagreed, and always tried to be positive in public. But this is his son we're talking about. The company he trusted with his family's livelihood nearly let his son die, and then tried to cover it up. That's not something a father forgives or forgets. The strain on the Mysterio family has been compounded by WWE's alleged attempts to control their public statements about the incident. Sources claim that the company has pressured both Rey and Dominik to sign non-disclosure agreements that would prevent them from discussing the medical emergency or WWE's response to it. These alleged pressure tactics have backfired spectacularly, serving only to increase the family's determination to speak out about their experience. Rey Mysterio's recent public statements represent a direct rejection of WWE's attempts to silence them, and sources suggest that more revelations about the incident may be forthcoming. But it's Liv Morgan's continued trauma and her struggle with WWE's handling of the incident that may prove to be the most damaging to the company's reputation. Her first-hand account of the medical emergency and its aftermath has become a powerful indictment of WWE's corporate culture and medical protocols. According to sources close to the situation, Liv has been receiving counseling to help her process the trauma of witnessing Dominik's cardiac episode and the company's subsequent treatment of her. The therapy has reportedly helped her understand that her feelings of betrayal and anger toward WWE are valid and justified. Liv keeps saying that she can't unsee what she saw that night, explained a friend who has been supporting her through the recovery process. She can't forget holding Dominik while he was unconscious, can't forget the panic she felt when she thought he was dying, and she definitely can't forget how WWE treated her afterward. It's changed her entire perspective on the company and the industry. This change in perspective has allegedly led Liv Morgan to become an advocate for wrestler safety and medical reform within WWE. She has reportedly been working with other talent to document safety concerns and push for improved medical protocols, despite alleged pressure from management to cease these activities. Her advocacy efforts have made her a target for company retaliation, according to sources who claim that WWE has been looking for reasons to release her from her contract or otherwise punish her for speaking out. This alleged retaliation has only strengthened her resolve and increased her determination to expose what she sees as a fundamentally flawed system. Liv has told people that she's not afraid of losing her job anymore, revealed another source. She says that after watching someone nearly die and then seeing how the company responded, keeping quiet feels like being complicit in the problem. She'd rather lose her career than stay silent about something this important. This transformation of Liv Morgan from company loyalist to outspoken critic represents a significant problem for WWE. As a popular performer with a strong social media following, her criticisms carry weight with fans and media outlets. Her first-hand account of the incident provides credibility to allegations about WWE's medical failures that the company cannot easily dismiss or discredit. The ripple effects of her advocacy are already being felt throughout the wrestling industry. Other performers, both within WWE and in competing promotions, have begun sharing their own stories of medical concerns and inadequate company responses. This growing chorus of criticism is creating a public relations nightmare for WWE that shows no signs of abating. The timing of these revelations could not be worse for WWE, which is in the midst of negotiating several major business deals that could be affected by concerns about the company's treatment of talent. Potential partners and sponsors are reportedly asking detailed questions about WWE's medical protocols and crisis management procedures, forcing the company to address issues they would prefer to keep private. Industry insiders suggest that the long-term impact of the Dominik Mysterio incident could be far more significant than WWE initially anticipated. The combination of medical failures, alleged cover-up attempts, and ongoing talent criticism has created a perfect storm of negative publicity that threatens to undermine years of work to improve WWE's corporate image. But perhaps most importantly, the incident has highlighted fundamental questions about the wrestling industry's approach to athlete safety and medical care. The alleged failures in Dominik's case suggest systemic problems that extend beyond any single company or incident. Wrestling medical experts have used the incident to call for industry-wide reforms in medical screening, emergency response protocols, and crisis management procedures. They argue that the competitive nature of the wrestling business creates perverse incentives for companies to minimize medical concerns and rush talent back to action before they're fully recovered. This incident should be a wake-up call for the entire industry, explained Drive. Lisa Thompson, a sports medicine physician who has worked with several wrestling promotions. We need standardized medical protocols, independent medical oversight, and transparency in how medical incidents are handled. The current system of letting each company police itself clearly isn't working. The call for industry-wide reform has gained support from wrestler advocacy groups, medical professionals, and even some current and former wrestling executives. However, implementing such reforms would require cooperation between competing companies and potentially government oversight, both of which face significant resistance within the wrestling industry. WWE's response to these calls for reform has been predictably defensive, with company officials arguing that their current medical protocols are adequate and that the Dominik Mysterio incident was an isolated occurrence. However, this defensive posture has only increased criticism from those who believe the company should be taking responsibility for their alleged failures and working to prevent similar incidents in the future. The contrast between WWE's public defensiveness and the private accounts of those involved in the incident could not be starker. While company officials minimize the significance of what happened, those who witnessed it describe a life-threatening emergency that exposed serious flaws in WWE's emergency response systems. This disconnect between public relations and private reality has become a recurring theme in the aftermath of Dominik's heart attack. WWE's carefully crafted public statements bear little resemblance to the chaotic and allegedly negligent response described by witnesses and medical professionals. The gap between image and reality has not been lost on the wrestling media, which has become increasingly skeptical of WWE's official accounts of controversial incidents. The company's credibility on talent safety issues has been severely damaged by their handling of the Dominik Mysterio case, making it harder for them to control narratives around future incidents. This erosion of credibility extends beyond the wrestling media to mainstream sports and entertainment outlets, which have begun paying closer attention to WWE's treatment of talent. The incident has attracted coverage from publications that typically ignore wrestling news, expanding the audience for criticism of WWE's medical and safety practices. The mainstream media attention has been particularly damaging for WWE because it reaches audiences that the company needs to attract for its ongoing efforts to position itself as a mainstream entertainment company rather than a niche wrestling promotion. The incident undermines these efforts by highlighting the continued risks and medical concerns associated with professional wrestling. But the most significant long-term impact of the incident may be on WWE's relationship with its own talent. The alleged failures in medical care, emergency response, and post-incident support have shaken confidence in the company's commitment to performer welfare. This loss of confidence could have far-reaching consequences for WWE's ability to attract and retain top talent in an increasingly competitive wrestling marketplace. Performers who feel that their safety and medical care are not priorities may be more likely to seek opportunities with other promotions that offer better working conditions and support systems. The talent relations challenges are compounded by WWE's alleged attempts to silence those involved in the incident. Employees who feel they cannot speak openly about safety concerns are less likely to report problems early, potentially leading to more serious incidents in the future. This culture of silence and retaliation, if it exists as alleged, represents a fundamental threat to WWE's ability to maintain a safe working environment for its performers. Medical emergencies require open communication and honest reporting to prevent and manage effectively. The broader implications of the Dominik Mysterio incident extend far beyond any single company or performer. The incident has raised fundamental questions about the wrestling industry's approach to medical care, emergency response, and talent welfare that demand answers from all major promotions. The wrestling community's response to these questions will determine whether the incident serves as a catalyst for meaningful reform or simply becomes another controversial chapter in the industry's troubled history with medical and safety issues. For now, the immediate focus remains on Dominik Mysterio's recovery and the ongoing fallout from WWE's handling of his medical emergency. His progress in rehabilitation will determine his future in professional wrestling, while the company's continued defensive posture suggests that the controversy surrounding the incident is far from over. Liv Morgan's role as both witness and advocate continues to evolve as she processes her trauma and decides how to use her platform to push for change. Her courage in speaking out despite alleged company pressure has made her a symbol of resistance against corporate indifference to talent welfare. Triple H's dismissive comments about the incident have only intensified criticism of WWE's leadership and their approach to medical crises. His suggestion that cardiac episodes are simply part of the wrestling business has been universally condemned by medical professionals and has become a rallying point for those demanding reform. The wrestling world continues to watch and wait as this story develops, hoping for Dominik's full recovery while demanding accountability from WWE for their alleged failures. The outcome of this controversy may well determine the future of medical care and safety protocols throughout the wrestling industry. What remains clear is that the Dominik Mysterio incident has exposed serious flaws in how wrestling companies handle medical emergencies and treat the people who risk their health for entertainment. Whether these revelations lead to meaningful change or are simply swept under the corporate rug will be determined by the continued pressure from fans, media, and performers who refuse to let this incident be forgotten. The wrestling world owes a debt of gratitude to Liv Morgan for her quick thinking that night and her continued courage in speaking out about what she witnessed. Her actions may well have saved Dominik's life, and her advocacy could help save others in the future. As for WWE, their handling of this incident will be remembered as either a wake-up call that led to meaningful reform or as another example of corporate callousness in the face of human suffering. The choice of which legacy to leave behind remains theirs to make, but time is running out for them to make the right decision. The wrestling community will continue to demand answers, accountability, and action until WWE and other promotions demonstrate that they truly prioritize the health and safety of their performers above all else. Anything less is simply unacceptable in an industry where people risk their lives for our entertainment. Dominik Mysterio's heart attack should never have happened, but since it did, we must ensure that the lessons learned from this tragedy are not forgotten. The The wrestling world cannot afford to lose any more young talent to preventable medical emergencies and corporate negligence. The time for excuses and deflection has passed. It's time for action, accountability, and real change in how the wrestling industry handles medical care and emergency response. The lives of future performers may depend on getting this right. However, Triple H's position appears to be that no amount of money or creative success is worth risking a performer's life, and his recent statements suggest that he's willing to fight this battle publicly if necessary. We can replace storylines, we can rewrite television shows, we can adjust our creative plans, he reportedly told a group of WWE executives. But we can't replace human lives, and we can't undo the damage when we ignore serious medical concerns because they're inconvenient for our business model. The legal implications of this situation are also beginning to surface, with multiple sources indicating that Dominik's family is consulting with attorneys about potential legal action against WWE. The central issue would likely focus on whether WWE had a duty to remove Dominik from active competition once he began reporting cardiac symptoms, and whether their failure to do so constituted negligence that contributed to his medical emergency. Legal experts who specialize in sports and entertainment law have indicated that WWE could face significant liability if it can be proven that they were aware of Dominik's symptoms but chose to ignore them for business reasons. The documented timeline of his medical complaints, combined with witness testimony about WWE's response to those complaints, could form the basis for a compelling negligence case that could result in substantial financial damages and force changes to WWE's medical protocols. This legal pressure, combined with the negative publicity surrounding the incident and Triple H's public criticism of the company's handling of the situation, has reportedly led to emergency meetings at WWE's corporate headquarters. Sources indicate that executives are discussing potential changes to their medical monitoring procedures, but there's significant resistance to implementing changes that would give medical personnel more authority to remove performers from active competition. The wrestling community's response to this incident has been overwhelmingly critical of WWE's handling of the situation, with current and former performers, industry insiders, and fans expressing outrage at what they see as a clear example of corporate prioritization of profits over human welfare. Social media has been flooded with demands for accountability and calls for systematic changes to how WWE approaches performer health and safety. Several former WWE performers have come forward with their own stories of being pressured to work through serious medical concerns, creating a pattern of behavior that supports Triple H's criticisms of the company's medical culture. These testimonials are particularly damaging because they demonstrate that Dominik's case is not an isolated incident, but rather part of a systematic problem with how WWE approaches performer health and safety. Mick Foley, whose own career was defined by working through serious injuries and medical concerns, recently posted a lengthy statement about the situation that has been widely shared and discussed. "I spent my career working hurt, working injured, and working through pain because that's what we thought we were supposed to do. But there's a difference between working through the normal bumps and bruises of this business and ignoring serious medical conditions that could kill you. What happened to Dominik should be a wake-up call for this entire industry." The timing of this incident has also raised questions about WWE's current approach to performer wellness and medical care. The company has made significant investments in their wellness program over the past decade, implementing drug testing policies, providing medical coverage for performers, and establishing protocols for concussion management and other injury concerns. However, critics argue that these programs are more focused on public relations and legal protection than genuine performer welfare. The fact that Dominik's cardiac symptoms were apparently documented but not acted upon suggests that these wellness programs may be more superficial than substantial, designed to create the appearance of comprehensive medical care without actually empowering medical personnel to make decisions that might conflict with business interests. This disconnect between public messaging and actual practice is exactly what Triple H appears to be addressing in his recent comments. The impact on Dominik's career and future in professional wrestling remains uncertain, with medical experts indicating that recovery from this type of cardiac episode can be lengthy and may require significant lifestyle changes. Depending on the underlying cause of his heart attack and the extent of any cardiac damage, he may face restrictions on physical activity that could effectively end his wrestling career. This uncertainty has created additional stress for both Dominik and his family, who are dealing not only with the immediate medical concerns but also with the potential long-term implications for his career and financial security. The fact that this situation could have been prevented with proper medical attention and more conservative decision-making by WWE management makes it even more tragic and frustrating for everyone involved. Liv Morgan's role in this situation has evolved from that of a concerned colleague to something approaching an advocate for systemic change within WWE's medical protocols. Sources indicate that she has been pushing for meetings with WWE management to discuss the company's approach to performer health and has been vocal about her belief that the current system failed Dominik and could fail other performers in the future. Her emotional investment in this situation goes beyond professional concern, as her close relationship with Dominik has made this experience deeply personal for her. Witnesses describe her as being visibly shaken during recent television appearances and struggling to maintain her usual on-screen persona while dealing with the trauma of what she witnessed that night. The broader implications of this incident extend far beyond WWE and into the entire professional wrestling industry, as it highlights systemic problems with how wrestling companies approach performer health and safety. Independent promotions, other major wrestling companies, and even training facilities are being forced to examine their own medical protocols and consider whether they're doing enough to protect their performers. This industry-wide conversation about medical standards and performer safety represents a potential turning point for professional wrestling, similar to the changes that occurred in other sports following high-profile medical incidents. However, the decentralized nature of the wrestling industry and the financial pressures facing most promotions make implementing comprehensive changes more challenging than in traditional sports leagues. Triple H's position within WWE gives his criticism of the company's medical protocols significant weight and influence, but it also puts him in a difficult position as both a company executive and an advocate for performer safety. His willingness to speak out publicly about these issues represents a risk to his own career and standing within the company, but sources indicate that he views this as a moral obligation that outweighs personal considerations. The long-term consequences of this incident for WWE's corporate culture and approach to performer health remain to be seen, but the combination of legal pressure, negative publicity, and internal criticism from respected figures like Triple H is creating momentum for significant changes. The question is whether these changes will be substantial and meaningful or merely cosmetic adjustments designed to address immediate criticism without fundamentally altering the company's priorities. As this story continues to develop, the wrestling community is watching closely to see how WWE responds to the mounting pressure for accountability and reform. The decisions made in the coming weeks and months will likely determine whether Dominik Mysterio's cardiac episode becomes a catalyst for positive change in the industry or simply another cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing entertainment over human welfare. The ultimate test of WWE's commitment to performer safety will be whether they implement meaningful changes to their medical protocols and demonstrate a genuine willingness to put performer health ahead of business considerations. Triple H's public criticism has created an opportunity for real reform, but it will require sustained pressure from performers, fans, and industry insiders to ensure that this opportunity is not wasted. For Dominik Mysterio, Liv Morgan, and every other performer who steps into a WWE ring, the stakes could not be higher. Their health, their careers, and potentially their lives depend on WWE's willingness to learn from this incident and implement the changes necessary to prevent it from happening again. The wrestling world is watching, and the time for half measures and empty promises has passed. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the WrestlingNewsCC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.